Hi, I'm Brickroad. Let's play Giana Sisters Twisted Dreams. This is a wonderful indie platform game available on Steam that is the sequel to a really old Amiga and Commodore 64 platformer game called the Giana Sisters that was essentially a ripoff of Super Mario Bros. And this was suggested by my Patreon supporter, Gordalot, wanted me to play this, so I am doing so. I really love this game. This is one of the few games I have on Steam that I actually went and decided to get the full clear. And you can tell that I have the full clear because, well, not the full clear because I haven't completed hardcore mode. Already I'm a liar. But you can unlock these hardcore levels, which are levels with no checkpoints, and you unlock them by earning stars in boss levels, and you unlock stars in boss levels by clearing boss levels without dying, which is very difficult. But weirdly, they seem to have done something to the save data in the game, and I'm not really sure what. Like, something got changed somewhere along the line when they put through an update. Because as we'll see after we're done watching the sisters play with this little gem here, it doesn't actually credit me the stars that it says I have. Like, I can play the hardcore levels if I want. I mean, I can't play them because I'm not that good at the game to get through all the levels without dying even once. But, when I go in the level select screen here, it doesn't credit me those stars that I know I have. Like, they're just empty and purple. So that's too bad. Anyway, let's get in here. Let's talk a little bit about the history of the Giana Sisters. Because back in the 80s, in the European games market, where this game was made, home game consoles like, what were the popular ones at the time? I mean, the NES, the Sega Master System, that was probably it at the time. This was after the Atari had crashed the market and whatnot, and Japan swooped in and took over the Western market for video game consoles. But in Europe, the video game consoles were never as popular as the personal gaming computers, like the Commodore 64, the Amiga, well, what other ones are there? There's the Atari ST, there's a whole bunch of them. And those computers, for one reason or another, were not as good as making platformer games like we understand them on the NES as the NES was. These guys got together, they're like, okay, they've got this really popular game in Japan, and it's across the Pacific, and it's in the US now, and it's called Super Mario Bros. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make a game that keeps that Italian stereotype in the platforming gameplay and call it the Giana Sisters. So you have the Giana Sisters instead of the Super Mario Brothers. And I don't know if there was ever any actual legal trouble with Nintendo about that. I don't know if they ever got dinged for it. But the Giana Sisters kind of faded into obscurity for many years. But then they came out with this game on Steam, Twisted Dreams, for I don't know where it came from. The series lay fallow for 20 years or so, and then out of the blue they released Twisted Dreams. And I'm not going to complain about it because this game is fantastic. It's a gorgeous game and it's got wonderful gameplay. Whereas the original Giana Sisters was essentially just a ripoff of Mario Brothers. And that's not totally true. I mean, if you play through the original Giana Sisters, like I did on my dad's Amiga back in the day, yeah, superficially it looks like Super Mario Brothers. It has the same kind of blocks, the same kind of enemies, the same kind of gameplay. But as you play through the levels, like the level layouts are all different. The physics are very different from Super Mario Brothers. The intentional similarities between the Giana Sisters and Super Mario Brothers are just very superficial. They're very surface level. So much so that after Twisted Dreams came out and proved to be pretty popular, they actually released a remake of the old Giana Sisters games on the DS, and they called it Giana Sisters DS. And that very recently got ported to Steam, where they call it Giana Sisters 2D. So that's the old game. Twisted Dreams is a new game, and this is the place where the series really makes an attempt to find its own identity, and it does that by using this world-switching mechanic. You saw I was doing it all through the last level. Basically, you have cutie Giana here, little blondie, and she is in this dark and sinister and morbid world, right? And her special move is this twist, where she double jumps into a twist and then can slow fall down to the ground, right? The other character is punky Gianni with the punk rock music and the wild red hair, and her special move is a fireball dash. So each character has her own kind of double jump, and whenever you use their double jump, it switches the world. You see punky Gianna has this kind of fairyland style world, this really super happy world. And the idea here is that the two worlds are meant to clash with the two girls' personalities. Punky Gianna has this really happy cotton candy world, and cutie Gianna has this really scary, dark, and morbid world. And both worlds, just graphically, are fantastic looking. Both are wonderful looking. The graphics in this game are so inventive and so wonderful that it actually is to the detriment of gameplay in some cases, because the level design gets so busy with all the really detailed graphics that it can be hard to tell what graphics are important and what graphics are not. And you will take some hits because you can't tell that something is deadly. Like these vines here, these will hurt punky Gianna, but I mean, they look almost identical between the two girls. At a quick glance, it's hard to tell, oh, cutie can get through there, but punky cannot. So the game does have some drawbacks. In fact, I'm going to go up here because I think there's more gems. We need to get as many gems as we can, right? That's the whole point of the game, is it not? You also have a world switch button. Just one of the shoulder buttons switches the world without the need for using up your jump. Because once you've used your jump, you can't use it again until you've bounced off an enemy. That's when you can use it again. So you can actually chain your jumps together when you bounce off enemies. So there's a lot going on with the gameplay of this game, and they make the level design in this game gets really hard, really fast. The first few tutorial levels here kind of just walk you through the mechanics, but once you get beyond the tutorial levels, this game gets extremely tough. Each level has 5 stars you can get. The first 3 stars are a function of how many gems you find in the level. There's blue gems that everybody can collect. There are red gems that only punky can collect. Yellow gems that only cutie can collect. And then you have these giant gems that give you, are they worth 10 or 20? I'm not really sure. But they unlock artwork in the extras menu. And then you get 1 star if you complete the level under 20 lives, and then you get another star if you complete the level under 5 lives. As you see, I missed a bunch of the gems in that level, so I only got 4 of the stars. So to get 5 stars in the hardest level in the game, you have to get as many gems as you can. You can't just take the safest or swiftest path. You have to collect as many of the gems as you can throughout the entire level, and then beat the level without dying 6 times. I don't think I've beaten most of these levels without dying once, which is what the hardcore mode is. Once you unlock enough stars in the boss levels, you unlock a hardcore mode, which is play the game without checkpoints. If you die, you go back to the beginning of the level, okay? And then after you beat the game on hardcore mode, I don't think I want to go swimming yet, do I? Once you beat the game on hardcore mode, you unlock Über Hardcore Mode, which is beat the whole game without checkpoints, which is like, don't know about that. As far as I know, there's only 1 video on YouTube of somebody beating this game in Über Hardcore Mode. I am man enough to admit that Über Hardcore Mode is beyond my skill level. It's not going to be me beating Über Hardcore. Sadly enough. But I can beat the game for you guys, at least. The game has excellent graphics and music. The artistry of the game is wonderful. I recommend this game to people, even if, like, if you're the type of guy who can buy games based on what they look and sound like, if that's something that you can do, Giana Sisters is a game that I would absolutely recommend. Because if you really... That waterfall came out of nowhere. That was kind of strange. While I'm talking up the game's beautiful visuals, that waterfall just glitches in out of nowhere. Okay, fine. If you're the kind of person who can buy a game based just on the artistry in it, even if the gameplay is not your bag, Giana Sisters is probably something that you'd be interested in. Here's a secret area. Oh, it's poison water. We don't want to get involved in that. We want to get out of here now. Oh, there's a balloon platform to help me out. That's fine. The first time I played the game, because one of the gameplay options is to either map both characters double jump to the same button, or to have them each on separate buttons. And when the first time I played the game, I'm like, that's going to be confusing if they're each on separate buttons. So I'm going to put the two double jumps on the same button just for my own safety. That was a big mistake. That makes the game so much harder. Because what it meant was I couldn't use the dash as Cutie Giana, and I couldn't use the twirl as Punky Giana. I would have to switch first and then use their respective jump button, which at a moment's notice can be very, very difficult when you're trying to get through some of the trickier levels in the game. So what I did the second time I played through the game is I just went ahead and mapped them to each different buttons. I've got the dash on Y and I've got the twirl on X. No, that's backwards. I've got that's Super Nintendo controller. Xbox controller, I've got the twirl on Y and the dash on X. Yes, that's correct. But that way I can use the dash even if I'm in Punky form, or even in Cutie form, like you saw. Blonde hair typically can't dash, but I just push the button, it just switches for me and then dashes. The other thing you can do is, once you've established your double jump, you can switch to the other one freely using just the switch button. That's kind of an advanced mechanic that is used especially in later levels. Can I swim over? Oh, there's breakable blocks here. We can't dash underwater, though. We gotta wait for the water to come back down. And then we will dash. There we go. Is there anything even over here or just these gems? You know what, though? I'm not going to look a gift gem in the mouth. So you can see what I mean about the graphical fidelity of the game kind of getting in the way of gameplay here, especially with these like purple spikes underwater. They create mazes out of these purple spikes, but the thing is they blend in so well with the water that they can be tricky to see in some of the water levels. So sadly, some of these levels kind of come down to memorization. Trial and error, you know. Fortunately, you get infinite lives. You don't have to, unless you're going for the stars, you don't have to worry about running out of lives in any case. And the checkpoints are plentiful. There are many, many checkpoints in this game. Thankfully, because if there weren't, then I don't know if I would have ever completed it. It gets that tricky later on. You're saying right now, it won't be that hard. I could play this. Probably. But it gets much harder. We're still in the first world. There's 3 worlds in the game, and each world has an increasingly large amount of levels in it to play through. We've also got these platforms which only appear for one girl or the other, and just the difference between whether they look like they're there or not can be very hard to see. So I'll probably lose a few lives to that. Almost certainly will lose a few lives to that. Oh, I have to go down here. I see gems down here. Aha. This song here, if you can hear it, is a remix of the original Giana Sisters level tune, which is pretty iconic if you had played old Commodore games back in the 80s. We could chain those guys together. That was fun. Okay, we're good to go. Can't jump on that guy because he has a spikety head. We had both kind of gems on this platform. Isn't that wonderful? So yeah, getting the full clear of this game, especially the last level. The last level is extremely long, and then you have to fight a boss that is borderline untenable. Like, the end boss in this game is so difficult I think it took me like 3 hours the first time I played this game, just trying and retrying the boss level. Or not the boss level, the boss fight, because the level... Or you get a checkpoint right before the boss fight, thankfully. But yeah, then acing that level in order to get all the stars on it, that took way more tries. It was unbelievably difficult. Oh, I got a switch while I'm boosting through there. Can do. There we go. Hooray, we made it. So in addition to every level being, or most levels, the early levels not so much, but the later levels, in addition to them being really long, they're also incredibly, like, dense. By which I mean, to explore them, to get all the gems and everything, takes a lot of time, and you really got to poke around in a lot of different ways. So, again, getting those stars can be very difficult, because not only are you going through super long, super hard levels, but you also have to investigate every nook and cranny of those levels in order to get the gems you need for the stars. Unfortunately, you can't get the 3 gem stars on one pass of the level and then go through the level again and get the 2 life stars. You've got to get all 5 on one pass. So the boss levels especially are incredibly difficult, which is why... Oh, there's yellows up here. I didn't see those. Which is why I'm guessing that they make you do the boss level stars to open up the hardcore mode. I think I attempted hardcore mode at one point, and it was just too hard for me. I think I cleared a couple of the levels, but then that was it for me. Could not go any further than that. We going down now? We're going down. Purple goes down, orange goes up. Just like in real life. Giana Scissors is a very good facsimile of real life. Just keep that in mind, guys. Usually when there's a monster like this, it means you want to daisy chain your way up. Look at that, I missed all the gems. Isn't that a special thing that happened? Oh, I thought those ones would spin around. Okay, these platforms with the lights, if you change the color of the lights, they change direction, but not all platforms have lights, and the platforms that don't have lights do not change direction. I knew that, and yet I still died there because I am a monkey brain. And I'll thank you not to stare. Poor old monkey brain Brickroad. What's to be done, though, you know? So the game is actually an excellent example of, in my opinion, of building a really compelling and memorable gameplay experience based on just a few simple gameplay rules. Shoutouts to McLean for sponsoring this video, and to everybody who makes my channel possible by supporting me on Patreon.